It's been a hot minute since I've gotten to talk about the Power Rangers, and while not much has changed admittedly, there have been some interesting additions to the Rangers that you might not know about. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, and this is the top 10 newest Power Rangers you've probably never heard of. Probably. Number 10, Zayto. In 2021 and 2022, we got the 28th and 29th seasons of Power Rangers. Power Rangers Dino Fury. The Red Ranger and leader of the Dino Fury Rangers, Zayto, is courageous and compassionate, strengthened by the support of his teammates and his new experiences on Earth. Zayto has truly grown into his role as a leader, but he doesn't really need to grow into anything because Zayto here is actually not a human. He's a Rafkonian from the planet Rafkon, and he led the ancient Dino Fury Rangers 65 million years ago. So he's got quite a bit of experience under his belt. In 2023, we get the Cosmic Fury Rangers team, which is one of the rare times where the cast of a Rangers show from the previous 2 seasons go on to remain the Rangers for the next evolution of the Rangers franchise, and Zayto will return as the Cosmic Fury Zenith Ranger, dressed in all white like his Dino Fury Ghost Ranger form, which happened when he was taken out and revived by the Morphin Masters. Number 9, Aiyon. But Zayto wasn't the only new Ranger from Dino Fury. Going over all the other Rangers seems like cheating for this list, but there is one Ranger who joined the team later that I thought was pretty cool. The Dino Fury Gold Ranger, Aiyon. Aiyon was also a Rafkonian just like Zayto, and they even knew each other all those millions of years ago. Upon being cornered while fighting against Tidemare, Zayto and the others witness the arrival of the mysterious Gold Ranger, who comes to assist them, and then later on, he reveals himself, explaining to Zayto that he managed to escape the destruction of Ultra Zord along with Zayto during the Great Sporix Wars before being stranded and put to sleep in the sea for 65 million years. Aiyon was reawakened by the Green Morphin Master, and just like Zayto, Aeon's Rafkonian physiology gives him access to telepathic powers like retrocognition, memory reading, and memory transferal, plus somehow super eyesight. He is set to be the Cosmic Fury Gold Ranger when that season releases in September of 2023. In at number 8, Steel Silva. Before we had Dino Fury, we had Beast Morphers in 2019 and 2020, and for me, one member of this Ranger team stands out among the rest of the normal humies. The Grid Battle Force Silver Ranger, Steel Silva. Steel is actually a robot, or should I say, he was a robot. He was created by the Gold Ranger of the team, Nate Silva. The robot absorbed human DNA from Nate and DNA from a scarab beetle, and this transformed it into the Silver Ranger, and technically Nate's brother. The bot had not been given a name until he addressed himself as, quote, Mr. Fantastic, super handsome, strong as steel, but Nate told him just stick with Steel, and so Steel Silva was born. Eventually, Steel sacrificed himself to drain Evox of most of his power by taking a devastating double energy attack to his stomach, which ultimately destroyed him. But it wasn't the end, as Master Green of the Morphin Masters saw his heroic sacrifice and resurrected Steel as a human so he could continue on as the Silver Ranger. Number 7, Mathew Cook. Nearly every other Ranger in the history of the franchise has had to deal with the burden of balancing their personal lives with their superhero activities. But this doesn't seem to be a problem for the newest Green Ranger, Mathew Cook. Mathew was another classmate of the original Mighty Morphin Rangers, and when he realized who they were, he confronted them on it, eventually becoming the new Green Ranger in place of Tommy Oliver, who became the White Ranger. When Lord Zed trapped the citizens of Angel Grove with an energy bubble, like you do, the Green Ranger revealed himself as Mathew to the rest of the people in order to improve morale, but with the added benefit of now being a well-known hero in the community. Unfortunately, he does seem to join Lord Zed's army and betray his friends, but I kinda doubt this is a legit thing. Number 6, the Ranger Slayer. Kimberly Hart was not a new character. She was actually the original Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger, and the Ranger that all the other guys in school had a crush on. But she is straight up a total badass. But for this point on the list, I want to talk about the Kimberly Hart of a different reality. In said alternate reality, the world of the Coinless, this version of Kimberly became a deadly Ranger named the Ranger Slayer under the mind control of the incredibly powerful Lord Drakon. As the Ranger Slayer, Kimberly piloted the Grave Zord and was also the leader of the Promethea Rangers team, which included another powerful ranger, Magna Defender, one of my favorites. She also wielded the bow/sword of darkness, and the Ranger Slayer initially worked for Lord Drakon before breaking free of his mind control. After Drakon's fall, the Ranger Slayer takes the place of Lord Drakon in the new timeline. Number 5. The original Omega Rangers. The Omega Rangers are a small but ancient faction or team of rangers that are specifically around to operate in the most dangerous and most remote areas of space, and they're powered by the classical elements of fire, water, earth, and air. Now originally, the team was around many millennia ago on the Morphin Master's homeworld of Safe Haven. They were originally composed of Bledsoe, the Red Ranger of Fire, Apathy, the Black Ranger of Air, the Purim Yellow Ranger of Earth, Haza, the Blue Ranger of Water, and one other, Spark, the Gold Ranger who represented the sun. But Spark, having learned the pain that comes with loss when he lost one of his fellow rangers, turned on the remaining rangers, being taken over by the possibilities of having death-defying powers. He became the Death Ranger, which, if you've seen our most powerful ranger video, is one of the most powerful rangers out there, even if he's evil. Despite that though, the Omega Rangers were able to stop and imprison Spark until he came back at a later date, as tends to be the case with most villains. Number 4. The Shattered. Going back to that whole Kimberly Hart thing, the followers of Drakon, his ranger sentries, most of whom have been lost without someone to follow, have tried to live normal lives in the new world under the rule of Kimberly Hart, the Ranger Slayer. But they find themselves in conflict with those who fought against Lord Drakon, people called the Coinless, who hold quite a bit of resentment against the sentries. So, while Kimberly is dealing with that conflict between those two factions, she learns of an old prison created by Drakon called the Deadlock. Leading her forces on a raid of the prison to free its prisoners, Kimberly stumbles upon a hidden cell holding an incredibly capable and mysterious prisoner, a ranger in a metal suit who it turns out to be Jason Lee Scott, the original Red Ranger. His rescue from the prison prompted a message to be sent out that brought Eclipta, the emissary of Dark Spectre, to the planet. Now, using a Black Dragon Zord's hand as a new Morphin diffuser, like the one that Drakon used to make the sentries in the first place, Kimberly convinced the other surviving rangers, Jason, Trini, and Zack, to use their coins to give literally everyone a portion of the Ranger power, putting them all on the grid and making them the Shattered, a whole army of Ranger-powered people. They put the beat down on Eclipta before the coins shattered and everyone went back to normal. Number 3. The Morphinaut. This is kind of a cheat, as the Ranger the Morphinaut becomes is not really new. This Ranger was a mysterious figure whose identity was unrevealed. They appeared in both Power Rangers in Space and Power Rangers Turbo. The Phantom Ranger hailed from the same homeworld as Zordon, known as Eltar. Now in the comics though, we learn that before he was known as the Phantom Ranger, this Ranger had a different alias, the Morphinaut. As the Morphinaut, over 10,000 years ago in the past, he was trapped inside the Morphin grid as a preventative measure to protect others from the evil that lurked around its perimeters. Hundreds of years in the past, the Morphinaut ended up being freed from the Morphin grid and would go on to help the Squadron Rangers in their fight against the Dark Spectre. Eventually, the Morphinaut became corrupted by the Dark Spectre, which he chose to do in order to protect the Squadron Rangers. His armor turned black, and although the Squadron Rangers would later defeat Dark Spectre, freeing the Morphinaut from their influence, the Morphinaut's armor would remain black, and they would take on the name of Phantom Ranger in their new form. Number 2. The Emissaries. The Emissaries are ancient warriors that represent the Morphin Masters, an ancient civilization dedicated to studying the Morphin grid. Now they each represent a different Ranger color, red, yellow, and blue, and what's cool about them is that they don't really have one solid form. They're constantly phasing in between different Ranger forms, taking on different Rangers from over the years, like Ninja Storm Red or Time Force Blue, etc, etc. These Emissaries actually used to be Rangers themselves, the Squadron Rangers, but during their battle with Dark Spectre, like we talked about before, they essentially become conduits of the grid, just letting its power consume them completely until they became one with it. Now, as these celestial beings, the Emissaries are supremely powerful guardians of the grid that exist outside of the realm of time and space, observing events across time and watching over the various Ranger teams that fight to protect their worlds. Such a cool concept. Finally, in at number 1, it's Yale of Saard. Okay, honestly, Had no idea that a feline could be a Power Ranger, but I am so glad that that's the case. This is awesome. Okay, so Yale is a cat-like alien from the planet of Saard. Yale was originally the runt of the litter, which actually allowed him to survive when the rest of the family did not. Yale became empowered by the Morphin Grid, which inadvertently caused a massive explosion and had the Omega Ranger arrive on Saard to apprehend the little cat. What's interesting is that Yale actually proved too strong for these already incredibly powerful Omega Rangers. Yale was eventually depowered and became like a pet for the Omega Rangers, living on their ship with them and eventually saving the leader, Zack, from the Horrid. But eventually Yale comes into contact with the blue Omega Morpher thanks to a mysterious figure, the blue Emissary, like we talked about before. And man, Yale is such a cool looking Blue Ranger. His strength and forgiveness make him an excellent addition to the Omega team. And that's all we got. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd. I'll catch you all next time. Peace out, nerd!